Thank you, Chair, and fellow directors. I just appreciating the moment, how lucky we all are to sit here and discuss this very important topic and be entrusted with the public has entrusted us with these decisions. Just really acknowledging the moment. I purposely wore a pink shirt today. I don't usually because sometimes it's hard to tell where my skin ends and my shirt. But pink represents friendship, affection, harmony, inner peace, compassion, nurturing, and approachability. And I wanted to bring that to the table today. It's also my daughter's favorite color. And it gets me thinking about where things are going to be in 20 years from now. She's 5, about to be 6, and what that world's going to look like. And it's hard to imagine because if I look back 25 years ago in Saltaire and on Thetis, but particularly Saltaire, how different my community was. It was geared towards families. The now community center was the Mount Brenton Elementary School with 600 kids in it. There was 5 or 6 kids or 5 or 6 people living in every house. And, we all moved away. Some of us are moving back. I'm a pretty good example of that. And just how things are shifting, and thinking that if somebody at that time in 1998 had put in a regional growth strategy and the challenges I'd be dealing with now. So it gets me thinking about that. It's my belief that in general, most of the areas, the electoral areas, the directors and staff, they know which areas have room for growth and which areas don't. My area, for example, has plenty of room for growth if we wanted. That's not what the public sort of said during the process. And we've got lots of water, we've got lots of land on the other side of the highway, mind you, and some of it's private managed forest. But, the document, our official community plan represents, what we want in our area. And there's talk about thinking regionally, and it's obviously tremendously important. We come and sit down here and we talk in good faith. I think we all think regionally. But understanding our communities and where we come from and that autonomy we talk about, I think that's maybe the wrong word, but I see that as a feature, not a bug. Like, I look to my fellow directors, they know their area. Like, Allison, you know about the Kokosala. Like, I don't even ever think I've been in the river, right? Like, and so I turned to you and looked to that, and whether it's Thetis Island, I don't know how many directors other than me have ever been to Thetis, right? And so, we're elected by our communities and then immediately told to say we need to think regionally. I mean, there's a balance there, and we're coming here representing the people that elected us, and we're doing our best. One of the other things that this regional growth strategy that is just, I've talked with dozens of people now, and of all different levels of government, community members, but we need to enter into the regional growth strategy with prejudice. I've never willingly ever entered into negotiations that I have to accept the outcome no matter what. And that's just that's virtually impossible for me to get past. There's no good faith. We enter in, and then I may have concerns and bring them up, and then I'm outvoted by a majority. Then on top of that, just let me gather my thoughts here. So that's a big issue for me. The folks that are worried about growth in their area, I think our OCPs are going to take care of that. I'm sure of it, and we're going to be good for the next 20 years, 10 to 20 years, and maybe they might get amended slightly, but then we can re-enter into negotiations. Then our predecessors, will be able to take that up at that time, and. I just think about leaving them the opportunity to stay flexible. We have, we want to focus our growth in specific areas. I think we're all committed to that, but removing that autonomy. Some of the things we've looked at, the $250,000, I am very happy to put a notice of motion forward. If there's specific work we want to get done, we're the regional district. Like, we can sit here and we can initiate that work. I will say right now, I will operate in good faith. If we need to get work done on aquifers and understand, is there water there? I support that. I support that work. If we need to limit growth in Cowichan Bay, I support that, right? But to enter into this regional growth strategy, gives me a lot of concern. And I'm going to speak now specifically about Area G, right? And this isn't meant to point fingers, but this is what's on the ground in Area G for sure. People came and spoke to my community about regional rec and the cost that it was going to be. And we were told between $100 and $150 per household about. We're looking anywhere from $400 to $500. There's a serious lack of trust in our community. And for me to go and say, yeah, but the regional growth strategy is different, and at the same time, and again, we have contractors doing the work. It's not the CVRD, but we can't even get our streets plowed. I'm getting hundreds of messages every Christmas because they're not getting salted. So those are some of my big concerns. And there's a couple other things that is picked up. I just want to make a few other comments. We're talking about the First Nations and their right, the path to self-determination. I mean, it strikes me as incredibly ironic that requires us giving up our right for self-determination. One of my big regrets, because it was very early in me being elected, and I didn't have as much knowledge as I do now, but I wish I would have much better supported the directors from the South and their endeavor to look at incorporating. I think that would solve many of the issues we're talking about. Like, is there water in Cobble Hill? Well, if you're incorporated, you can pool your resources, and that's work that you can get on as a municipality. Anytime you add another layer of government, there's cost. There's no question. I think there's many things that we agree on. I would gladly continue to have conversations, as I did with many of you at AVICC. What does AVICC stand for, the people at home? Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities. And talk about the things we agree on, and I will support requisitions for those as an electoral service area. But moving into regional growth strategy is just something that, until there's a way that we know there's an off-ramp if we disagree, or we can have those negotiations without prejudice. I mean, it just, my community, and more importantly, my community, is just not something that we can support. Actually, and the last thing I'll say, there's lots of talk about the province. This is my last point. Lots of talk about the province, changing boundaries, mandating things. If they do that, so be it. That's their prerogative. It took a national housing crisis for them to come out and change issues around housing. I've gone and looked. They are very reluctant to come in and get involved with local area issues. And if they decide to do so, then that's on them. But I think that we're doing good work here. We all take this job and responsibility very seriously, and I think we can continue to do that. And I think if this doesn't move forward, we can find a way to accomplish many of the things that we're concerned about. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director McClinton. And so I've got